21 of Qore, presented by the PlayStation Network. I'm Veronica Belmont, and this month we've got nothing but trouble. First up, you've got a little problem with the Japanese mafia.
I'm Audrey Cleo, saying konnichiwa from Tokyo, where we've explored the underworld with Yakuza III, broken new ground with JRPG Resonance and Fate, and checked out the things that you can only find here in the land of the rising sun. I've also got the latest Blu-ray releases that you need to pick up for your personal collection.
And next up, we dive into the trenches with the Battlefield franchise developers DICE to learn how they're gearing up to slaughter the heavy-duty first-person shooter competition and put you in good company with Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now that it's 2010, we've made contact with the editors of PlayStation, the official magazine, to find out what glorious fruits this shiny new future promises. You won't want to miss their 10 things to look forward to in 2010, and we'll give you a hint. It's not a jetpack, but it's close. All this and more in episode 21 of Qore, presented by the PlayStation Network. I'll see you on the inside.
Yakuza. It's a word that strikes fear into the hearts and minds of many. But for PlayStation gamers like us, it means a compelling gangland story with characters that you'll actually care about, a vast open-ended digital Tokyo begging to be explored, crazy combat, and enough missions and minigames to keep you squarely on your couch, safely hidden from any Japanese underlords. We headed straight into the beating heart of the real Tokyo to meet with Sega Japan's development clan leader, Toshihiro Nagoshi, and get some quality hands-on playtime with his newest dramatic romp, Yakuza III. When it comes to capturing the hectic, futuristic madness of urban Japan, Yakuza delivers with flying neon colors. While it won't win any awards for visual design on the PS3, it does deliver a detailed depiction of Tokyo, one jam-packed with hotspots and subtle details, all based on real-world locations, all of which make this digital city thrive. At its core, Yakuza III is a brawler, no doubt about it. But true to form, the hardcore action is not without some heart, thanks to the relationships between Kazuma and Haruka Sawamura, a young orphan girl who is now under his care, as well as the many foster children he now looks after at his beachside orphanage.
Within the story, Kazuma has already left the Yakuza gang, so he's not a Yakuza anymore. However, he's a very generous person who has a good heart, and because of this, a lot of people come to ask him for help, and this is how he gets pulled back into the outlaw world. This is the kind of drama I wanted to create with Kazuma. The game is still a very edgy, outlaw-style game, but there is a contrast between this edginess and the kind of pure heart of Kazuma.
You'll spend some time playing yard duty, settling disputes between the kids, and, kind of ironically, teaching them wrong versus right. But when duty calls, our hair-gelled anti-hero does whatever it takes to protect them. Things get real edgy and real fun real quick once you leave your seaside sanctuary and hit the city streets. You can't even walk 2 blocks in this hood without running into some petty thugs whose insults at Kazuma border on yo mama joke style lameness. You can get your Jason Bourne-like makeshift weapon skills on by picking up objects around you and turning them into bruising instruments of bludgeon in combat mode. As the game progresses, you'll need to upgrade Kazuma's abilities, stats, skills, and overall endurance level to continue his hurt-bringing as the difficulty ramps up. Later, when you gain access to a weapons shop, you'll be able to stock up, modify, and repair weapons, gear, and other accessories to really lean the beating field in your favor. All weapons have spectacular and sometimes straight-up hysterical finishing moves called heat actions, executed once this heat meter charges up. So satisfying. The ass-kicking really goes down, though, when Kazuma faces a rival clan leader. These confrontations usually kick off in glorious fashion, complete with a melodramatic shirt-ripping who has the cooler tattoo contest. The testosterone fest continues with a grueling test of endurance and reflexes, and if you're victorious, ends with a super finish move. Who's got the cooler tattoo now, biatch? Kazuma is the quintessential tough guy, but you won't spend all your time in fisticuffs. Yakuza 3 offers a variety of diversions that are almost as satisfying as mopping the Tokyo streets with your enemies' faces.
There are a lot of minigames and side missions. Compared to the main story, there are probably just as many mini-missions and side missions. I like all of them, so it's difficult for me to choose a favorite. In fact, it's impossible. All of them have purpose and are even part of the main story.
Beneath the main storyline, Yakuza 3 is layered with over 100 so-called sub-stories that enhance the main plot. These include adding to Kazuma's blog entitled My Revelations, yes, he has a blog, through hilarious cell phone photo minigames, playing drinking games at a local bar, aiding crime investigations, preventing suicides, and our favorite, hitting the town with a honey. If there's anything an underworld overlord knows, it's how to have a good time, and when you're Kaz, that's booking date night at a karaoke bar. Where else? And as in previous titles, the game contains a full-featured mixed martial arts competition with 50 fighters and 20 tag teams to choose from. Way more than even some of our favorite fighting games. Yes, the game is stuffed to its gangster gills with things to do and achieve, so be prepared to invest major time into Kazuma's intricate, gritty life. Because if you do, Nagoshi-san promises the payoff will be satisfying.
For every game in the series, I put a lot of effort into the last scene. This series has a very dark tone, but I always make sure that the last scene ends on a very positive note. So you feel a little bit of bitterness, but also you feel positive, like you want to keep on going. This kind of last scene is always what I try to make, and I always write the actual scenario on my own and put a lot of effort into it.
Yakuza 3 is much more than just another open-world action game. With a dramatic, well-told story, insane combat, plenty of big laughs, tons of diversionary pleasures, and an authentic Land of the Rising Sun setting, there truly is nothing else quite like it. There's no bull about it. Just like we saw in Yakuza 3, Tokyo is one frenzied, hyper-futuristic town, not to mention a geek and gamers mecca. So we hit up the Akihabara Electric Town District, Akiba for short, to find the top 6 weird and wonderful things you'll only see in the Land of the Rising Sun. Psycho! Kicking off our countdown at number 6, from crazy costumes to Pac-Man masks and some other things we can't show you, discount variety stores like Don Quixote are institutions of Japanese consumer culture where you can find just about anything, like this comfy companion.
It's pretty comfortable too. I mean, just kind of put your head on here, and I actually think I have these.
From the weird but sexy to J-pop styled, guys, switch it up with a handy wig.
Just look at this guy. You can get the spiky wolf gold blend. It's kind of hot. It kind of looks like someone from Final Fantasy.
At number 5, cruising the streets and alleys, one thing is clear. The machines have taken over. Vending machines, that is. Stick in some spare change and grab a toy or a tasty drink.
Right now I'm a little cold, so I'm gonna put in my 100 yen.
Pick your poison. Beer, juice, or maybe a cafe au lait.
Actually warm. Awesome. Oishi.
For number 4, or shi in Japanese, anime and manga fans always shimmy here, and for a good reason.
I'm in anime and manga heaven. This street in Akiba is packed with stores like the one right behind me. Inside is wall-to-wall anime DVDs and manga comic books like this one. Definitely something you could only find here.
Samurai sword stock running low? Then pick up some medieval instruments of mayhem at a weapons shop like this one. It's a tucked-away haven for perusing old pistols, shopping for new chainmail hoodies and clothing worn by real soldiers. Oh, and some weapons lessons so you can cross swords or kick enemy ass like a hardcore ninja warrior.
If you think something's in my hand, well, you're right, because I got an authentic ninja star and a little throwing lesson right before this.
It's no surprise that Akihabara's famous for our number 2 pick.
Toys, and more toys. Akihabara's full of stores like these, and these toys aren't just for kids.
From fantastical creatures to muscled-up action figures and cars to goodies of the robotic persuasion. Oh, and speaking of robots, we just want to say domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, for our #1 weird and wonderful find.
Another awesome thing you would never find at home, I'm at the condo robo spot where my robot is actually going to play a soccer match right now.
Now, we usually think of robots as total geek fare. In high school, they'd be the dweebs doing calculus homework at lunch. But as we found out, robots can be jocks too.
Oh, you kicked me in the shins!
Retailing at around $1,500 each and guided by remote controls, these mechanical juice heads warm up and bend it almost like Beckham.
And goal!
And who said robots didn't have feelings? Aw, it's okay, little guy. So from serious swords to rad robots, we've gotten to the core of the whacked out things you'll only find in Tokyo. Just remember, don't try any of this at home, because you can't.
Go, Psycho!
The first-person shooter marketplace is littered with the corpses of the fallen, each one shot in the back by the next big thing. Make no mistake, my friends, these are deadly times to develop a military multiplayer game. But still, heroes persist. The brave developers at DICE in Sweden have been refining their Battlefield franchise for years for a single purpose: to blow away the competition. In Battlefield Bad Company 2, the heat definitely gets turned up a couple of degrees. But since you're smart, like us, you're asking yourself, with so many other shooters out there, what is it exactly that makes Battlefield Battlefield? Well, soldier, while Battlefield Bad Company 2 contains a full single-player campaign, we're going to highlight the multiplayer mode in all its glory, and show you why we think you'll be in good company with Bad Company 2. At first look, it may seem like any other military shooter, but there's a special sauce that sets Battlefield games apart.
You really have this unique combination of infantry combat versus vehicle versus vehicle, or infantry versus infantry. No other game really delivers that type of experience in a way that Battlefield does.
And with all these vehicles to drive around, you're going to need a little breathing room. So the maps are appropriately huge, but they're also designed to have pockets of buildings for intense urban infantry combat as well. But if you're playing infantry, as the battle lines shift, you're gonna need a lift.
We wanted to make sure vehicles in this version of the game were a bit more accessible, so a player felt not afraid to get in a vehicle and use it, but also make sure that there was a level of experience that needed to be gained to be an expert in the vehicle. So that's what we've really focused. We've been doing it for a long time, so now it's about improving that experience and just making it come to life better and just feel more natural and intuitive for our players so that they get a better experience from them.
As you use a vehicle, you'll earn experience points that can be used to upgrade it with goodies like armor or sensors, which are attached to your character and come with you as you jump from vehicle to vehicle. But what's the point of being a veteran tank commander if you can't blow stuff up? As in the original Battlefield Bad Company, you still can, but this time the destruction affects gameplay in a way like never before. Let's just say we wouldn't feel safe hiding from a tank in a building.
For Battlefield Bad Company 2, we tried to take destruction to the next level, and what we've called it or coined it is Destruction 2.0. And what that does is it gives a player the ability to level an entire building or actually chip away at the cover that somebody's hiding behind, like a cement barrier. So that's what we focused on, micro and macro destruction.
It's not just the destruction that's more realistic. One of the first things we noticed was the deep thud of a tank cannon echoing from the other side of the battlefield. When firing weapons indoors, you'll notice a sharp reverberation, just like you would in real life. We wouldn't be making such a big deal about the sound if it wasn't truly exceptional. And we think their sound team has earned some well-deserved props. Good job, fellas. But sound is one of those qualities that you notice at first, and while it truly pulls you into the game world, after a while, it just feels normal. As the battle rages, it's the other shiny objects that will catch your attention. Battlefield Bad Company 2 introduces a few new fun toys and gadgets that will help you bring the fight to the enemy.
You're going to have a lot of cool gadgets, toys, and equipment that you're going to have access to, and it's dependent on the class that you pick. So for instance, if you pick the Recon kit, you're going to get a sensor ball that'll kind of give you a blip, a sonar blip of where the enemies are.
Hey, light tank over there.
Or if you're the support guy. With the support guy, you're going to get defibrillators, so you'll be able to revive a buddy that's fallen down and keep your team alive and really support them in a unique way that you can only get in Battlefield.
As you can see, it's pretty tough out there. But in order to survive, Battlefield players have learned to become team players. While some gamers still want to play lone wolf style, Battlefield has excelled at fostering teamwork.
In previous titles, the squad system was sometimes a little bit clumsy and a little bit bloated with the different options that you had. So we've really refined that experience to make it more understandable and more intuitive for the player so that they communicate better. We've also made it easier to get into a squad, to create a squad, and to get into a match in a squad. Just making those functionalities flow together much better.
Okay, it's true that nobody likes being bossed around all day, so you don't have to follow orders. You simply get rewarded for playing the way you want to play. It's also going to be a lot simpler to join and play as a squad, without the bloated menu of commands, especially when all you usually need to know is what to attack or defend. It's up to you, soldier. Only you can decide which call of duty to answer. But we can tell you that we genuinely enjoyed the ability to spawn your squad members. It saved us that long walk across the battlefield to get back into the action. Plus, staying alive long enough to find, and even drive, our vehicle of choice was a blast. Speaking of blast, we just couldn't get enough of that heightened level of destructibility. It's a simple formula, really. Plenty of great toys equals lots and lots of fun. Developer Tri-Ace may not be the biggest player in the Japanese development community, but that doesn't mean they don't make great games. Creators of the storied Star Ocean series, they've created quite a name for themselves among the JRPG fanbase. Now, they're bringing us a brand new RPG called Resonance of Fate, a spiritual tale of love and intrigue set in a gritty and dark yet undeniably gorgeous distant future Earth. Okay, so it's not too tough to imagine a future where humans have polluted their planet to the point of near destruction, but what if the only safe place to live was a massive air-purifying tower called Basil that stretched miles into the sky?
The ruling class, known as Cardinals, live at the top of Basil. The lower you go on the structure, the lower the class of person. It's about 10 to 20 floors high. Each floor is like one city. The characters get involved with the ruling class. Their destiny will get them in touch with the intricacies of the tower, and the player discovers that not only does it purify the air, but it also controls life and death and people's destiny.
And what if this tower started to break, people started to die mysteriously, monsters started to emerge from the woodwork, and you were given the task of dealing with the whole mess? This is the plight of Resonance of Fate's protagonists, Bashirin, Zephyr, and Leanne. Resonance of Fate uses a basic hub system where you can select missions from a job board at a guild, rest up at various safe spots, as well as purchasing items and even clothing if you want a new look. Not everything is accessible from the get-go. Defeating monsters gets you items and cash, as well as special equipment known as energy hexes. These are essentially hexagonal tiles, arranged in different shapes and colors, and they serve as puzzle pieces that you use to open your path throughout the game world. You'll need to figure out where to place your hexes on the grid map to open new areas, and you might just find some hidden items or gear to take along with you. But you won't get far before facing a band of baddies dwelling within the seedier, overrun parts of Basil. Thankfully, our heroes are packing some serious heat. Pistols, machine guns, grenades, Molotov cocktails, rockets, and more guns are on the weapons list, with, surprisingly, no magical powers in sight. To make efficient use of these weapons and defeat the monsters lurking throughout Basil, you'll have to master the game's try-attack battle system. It's a slick mixture of a real-time and turn-based action, combining charge and release mechanics with a bit of the old-fashioned hand-eye coordination. Attacking an enemy with a press of the X button brings up a circular reticule with a meter around it. When the meter fills, it means your ammunition is loaded, which is fired when you press the X button again. You can load multiple rounds to perform combos, but this takes longer and leaves you open to an attack. Both the speed with which your meter fills, as well as the power of your attacks, depend on your proximity to the enemy. If you really want to cause some damage, you can call upon a hero action. After setting a line along which you'll launch your assault, your character begins to run along that line. Each time you bash the X button while running the line, you'll trigger a John Woo-like move, allowing you to spin, dive, and tumble as you fly through the air, performing spectacular two-fisted gun-slinging combos. Finally, if you arrange the three characters correctly, you can pull off a deadly group tri-attack, which has all three characters strike the intended target at the same time. All this fancy gunplay isn't merely for show either. In Resonance of Fate, the level of your characters is determined by their skill in pistols, machine guns, and grenades combined. In other words, the more a character uses a weapon in a particular class, the more experience points they gain for that skill, which results in varying levels of things like defensive skill, health, and the like. And it goes even deeper. From there, players can choose to augment those skills by customizing their weapons. Using everything from shoulder mounts to silencers to scopes, you can improve your hit percentage, amount of damage, shooting rate, and more. So what does all this depth and gameplay variety add up to? There's plenty of crazy combat, but when it comes down to it, you'll have to think before you act.
Technically speaking, this is a real-time game. What we wanted to do is make this game available to everyone, even those who are not used to action games. To appeal to everyone, we focused more on strategy than straight action.
Resonance of Fate brings quite an arsenal of new ideas to the genre. Its combination of beautiful steampunk-inspired design, spectacularly choreographed gunplay, and deep strategic gameplay make for a breath of fresh air. Something that's kind of hard to find not only in the game, but within a long list of JRPGs that we've played over the years as well. 2010 is shaping up to be a banner year for the PlayStation 3, so we thought we'd ask some of the experts at PlayStation, the official magazine, what you should be looking forward to. The first pick is an easy one. Now, we all know that God of War 3 is going to be awesome, but what makes it stand out from the rest of the pack in 2010?
Well, we tend to toss around that word epic a lot, but few games will be as epic as God of War 3. I mean, the franchise is already one of the biggest franchises on the PlayStation platform. God of War 3 is going to take it to a whole new level. You get to fight 50 different enemies at once. You get to commandeer a Cyclops, ride him around, smash things up, and when you're done with him, you get to rip his eyeball right from the socket.
Yes.
You get to gut and eviscerate centaurs. And you get to fight the gods. I mean, what more could you want from a game?
So in a word, epic.
Epic, indeed.
There is no question that somehow Kratos makes angry look fun. And when it comes to hacking, slashing, and bashing, God of War 3 is at the top of the list for the must-have games of 2010. Gran Turismo 5 is really being touted by Sony as being the title that shows what the console can do. From what you've seen, is that true?
Absolutely. Gran Turismo franchise has always had the best graphics when it comes to racing games, and Gran Turismo 5 is going to be even better. The gameplay graphics now look like how the cutscenes used to look like in the previous games, and the cars exhibit damage. So if you make a mistake in the game, there's actual gameplay consequences.
Hundreds of cars, realistic racing, but whether you're a racing game fan or not, it only takes a moment to appreciate the stunningly realistic visuals in this masterpiece of video game technology. The line between real and rendered is getting pretty blurry, and we think that Gran Turismo 5 just pulled out ahead of the pack. We've all been waiting for Final Fantasy XIII for quite some time now. Has it been worth the wait?
Totally worth the wait. It's already shaping up to be probably one of the best looking games we'll see on the PS3. But it's not just the looks. And it's not just the looks in the gorgeous cutscenes. The great looks carry over into the actual in-game action, and that action is spectacular. The battles are fast, they're furious, they're intense, they're strategic. The return of the active time battle system brings a focus to the game that's been missing. And you've got some wonderful characters that are just, you'll fall in love with them.
Amazing visuals, a futuristic fantasy storyline, intense and deep gameplay, and the first Final Fantasy on PS3. When it comes to role-playing games, Final Fantasy XIII promises to carry you away like no other game can. Metal Gear Solid Peacewalker. Now, would you say it's shaping up to be one of the best PSP games of all time?
It's definitely looking promising. It's a very, very solid title.
I see what you did there. That was good.
Yeah, it sort of explores sort of the earlier portions of the franchise's history. It's sort of part of it that hasn't quite been explained fully yet. So it's really exciting in terms of the story, because we're going to be getting some of the backstories to Solid Snake and the history of sort of the main characters of the franchise. And it's written by Hideo Kojima, the mastermind behind the entire series. So it's really exciting to be getting more from him. And it also has co-op for the first time, which is really going to change the basic way the mechanics work. So it'll be really exciting to sort of explore how this title is going to affect the series as a whole.
Though Snake has gotten a little over the hill, fans can't seem to get enough. If you're among his disciples, and have a PSP of course, this one's a no-brainer. Put Peacewalker in your pocket and Snake will be with you always. Heavy Rain, definitely one of the most talked about titles coming out in 2010. Is it going to change the way that we think about gaming?
It doesn't just change the way we think about gaming, it changes the game itself. It's not just the context-sensitive controls where you manipulate your characters based on where you are on screen. And it's not just the mature storytelling that's told with a poise and a confidence that you don't get from games. It's the way that the controller seems to almost fade away in your hands. You forget that you're playing a game. You're still in charge, you're still making decisions, but you feel responsible for those decisions and you feel connected to the game in a way that no other game does.
Heavy Rain seems to usher in a new form of entertainment that merges cinematic storytelling with gameplay decision-making in a format that defies classification. The storm clouds are a-comin', and we're ready to get our feet wet. I had a little bit of hands-on time with Mod Nation Racers, and I loved it. Would you say that it's shaping up to be the Little Big Planet of 2010?
It certainly seems to be that way, yeah. It uses the same play, create, share mantra that was sort of pioneered by Little Big Planet. You can create your own tracks, and the amount of detail and depth is absolutely amazing, and then once you finish, you can share with everybody online. So it's the same kind of idea as Little Big Planet, but it's all built on a kart racer this time, and it's which is great because it's just pure, simple fun. It's not taking itself too seriously. And it has sort of the same community features as Little Big Planet as well, where you can interact with other users in this thing called the mod spot before you even enter the racing. So it really is sort of shaping up to be this year's Little Big Planet.
Family-friendly kart racing fun with creative tools built right in. If Mod Nation Racers doesn't put a smile on your face, check your pulse. From everything we've heard so far, it really sounds like Split Second is going to give Burnout a run for its money this year. What else can you tell us about it?
Well, Burnout Paradise really set the bar for arcade racers, but Split Second is going to take it to the next level. Whereas Burnout had an open city world and you had these great physics-based crashes, now the focus is going to be on interactive environments. It's a unique take on kart racing, where the power-ups actually trigger these Hollywood action film style moments that trip up your opponents.
What's more fun than winning a race? If you answered watching the competition crash and burn as it slams into a falling building, then Split Second has the tools you need. One title that I really want to know more about is The Last Guardian. We saw the trailer back at E3, but we don't seem to know too much about the game. What do we know?
So what we do know is that it once again stars a young boy. And this time, the boy has some sort of relationship with this giant creature called a Trico, which is somewhat like a big griffin that's both elegant and stumbly, powerful yet subtle. And somehow they're moving through the world together. They're fighting off various forces. They're probably interacting in a way that provides some kind of really cool environmental puzzles. And judging from what we know and what we've seen from Team Eco, certainly we're in for quite a ride with these two.
Even though we haven't had any hands-on time with The Last Guardian, we can't wait to have our own gigantic flying pet. The Last Guardian truly looks like yet another amazing interactive fairy tale from the talented Team Ico. Arkham Asylum was such a big hit. How is Rocksteady going to live up to the expectations set by that game for Arkham Asylum 2?
It's going to be kind of tough because, as you said, the expectations have really been set. The first game was so great with the combat, the detective work, and the exploration, all was so well executed. It was such a solid game that it is going to be kind of tough. But given the first trailer that's been released, they have some really cool stuff in store, it seems. We're going to see more new combatants like Two-Face and Catwoman, and a few that were left out from the first game. You know, the winning formula has already been established, so hopefully, given how good the first game was, the second game's going to be even better.
Now, they're not going to throw in Robin anywhere along this path, are they? What do you think?
Hard to say. They might. You never know, but there haven't been any indications so far, so it doesn't seem too likely.
Citizens of Gotham, take heart. Batman is back to battle new baddies, and if you played the first Arkham Asylum, we already know you'll be swooping on in to nab your copy. Missed the first one? Maybe you should be locked up. I recently spent a lot of time with the 3D TVs at the Sony booth at CES, and judging from what people were saying, they were really excited about it, the users. Is this something that you see becoming the industry standard, or is it just going to be a fad?
Well, 3D TV is definitely on the way, but I think it's going to take a little more time for widespread acceptance. It's going to take the TV manufacturers packaging in the glasses when you buy a new TV for most people to be able to see the images and to start enjoying it. So it's going to be an optional experience rather than a complete shift from 2D to 3D.
So, what do you think? Is 3D the next big thing? Make sure you check back next month as we take a closer look at Sony's 3D technology and what it may mean for your living room. As you can see, the future is looking pretty bright in 2010. Make sure you check out PlayStation, the official magazine, and Qore every month to stay up to date on all things awesome in the PlayStation world.